Is this enough to do IT as a degree in university in current year? Yes. But it's not quite what it might seem like. So, I started off this year with this shiny new old iPad Pro and the keyboard case. Wow, it has a keyboard. And I was wondering, do I have to lug around my admittedly not very heavy, but still heavier than this ThinkPad in order to do my classes? And I devised a system whereby I could actually do my classes with nothing but an iPad, a keyboard case, and mouse. Because this is USB-C. iPads are cool sometimes. And I'm gonna spoil the secret sauce. I'll put up a screen recording of the iPad itself, like here, maybe. Um, yeah, you can't do it all natively on iOS. So you can do all the text editing type stuff, and even some C code, as long as you don't specifically need GCC, because there's an app called ISH. I call it iShell, but I don't think it's meant to be iShell. And that app is literally just Linux, Alpine Linux to be precise. So I'm pretty sure it has Clang. I'll put up a correction on screen if it actually has a different C compiler. But point is, you can do some basic stuff. And Microsoft Word runs perfectly fine. And you can do all this stuff on here. But when it comes to using a virtual machines or using code that isn't C and Alpine Linux or literally anything that doesn't run natively on iOS, you need more power. So where does that more power come in? It's actually behind that door right there, which is kind of betraying the layout of my house, but that's okay. And the answer is it's a server. I run everything remotely on a server. What can I say? It works really well, actually. It lets me remote into my computer using RDP. I can do everything that I can do on my computer, especially with a mouse. I can click on things, and the latency is tolerable. But let's become anime to explore what's wrong with it. Alright, so I'm going to start off by showing a screen recording of what exactly the issue is. Um, yeah, so as you can see, the keyboard inputs are kind of just not working. That's why there was nothing happening for a second there, other than the cursor moving. Because, yeah, it doesn't pass through inputs. And to explain what's going on here and why this is a problem that exists, I'm gonna get some MS Paint. So the way that Windows Windows is that you have a layer down here, right? And this is Hyper-V. This is the hypervisor, right? And on top of this, we have for devices that have Hyper-V enabled, you've got regular Windows with the W there. And then for Windows Subsystem for Linux, what do you know? It's a VM now. So WSL2 is just a fully fledged VM. And WSL1 was way cooler. It used the kernel stuff that Windows NT can actually do. It's very sad. But point is, WSL is a virtual machine, technically. Now, the normal interface that you get is the command line. I'll put an image on the screen for the WSL command line because I have a slick Z shell theme that I tweaked myself. But there is also the option of graphical apps. Now, normally with Hyper-V, you just get a whole ass window. But because of how Windows has its implementation of WSL-G graphical Linux apps, it means that it's using RDP. So if I'm like on my iPad, right, I'm draw an Apple logo. Wow. So I'm going via RDP into Windows, right? And then for the WSL-G apps, how do you think they might be run actually? Well, what do you know? There's RDP again. This is bad, right? 2 times RDP is bad for some reason. I don't know why. And yeah, so this is a bug that has existed for years, as far as I can tell. Um, but the main people that run into this are people that have to remote into stuff indirectly due to enterprise setups. I believe Citrix in some cases has this issue. But I know that the WSL team at Microsoft actually knows about this because there's an issue open on the GitHub from years ago. Look it up. they so this little tiny issue here, this right here being under RDP again, is what prevents me from actually properly fully using my setup unless I migrate all of my VMs from being on my server running under QEMU in this KVM and instead run them on Hyper-V on my desktop computer. And unfortunately, converting these VMware file types, especially when they have multiple layers of hard disk, virtual hard disk, is a pain in the butt. And I already have a setup. So yeah, this is a really frustrating thing that is completely out of my control and has already been reported to Microsoft and not fixed because it's probably quite niche that someone would want to RDP into a Windows machine to then manage WSL-G apps. Because if they're RDPing into Windows machine, they probably want Windows. And if they want Linux, they'll just VNC into a Linux machine. Right? Wrong. I am the niche use case, and I am suffering. But yeah. Can you use an iPad as your sole device? Yeah, but you'll have to have your host be, Hyper-V based and convert all your stuff to Hyper-V. Bye-bye.